Regina Benjamin, United States Surgeon General. Go to cdc.gov, learn how to make our next generation tobacco-free.
ABC 7 celebrates the stars where you live.
This morning on World News Now, terror train, a subway filled with smoke, sending dozens to the hospital and killing a passenger. What investigators are uncovering from a rush hour nightmare.
On alert, unprecedented patrols protecting the public today in Paris. The latest fears and why the U.S. is now on terror watch.
The unusual flight. New York-bound Delta Airlines passenger who shared an entire jetliner with just one other passenger. How did this happen?
And later, awkward moments on The Bachelor last night. The unusual behavior of one of the contestants. But did she get sent home? That's in The Skinny on this Tuesday, January 13th.
From ABC News, this is World News Now.
Hello to you all. We begin this half hour with new details in that deadly smoke condition in the Washington, D.C. metro.
Subway passengers describe the moments of panic as people starting to hit the floor, trying to breathe. Some riders were trapped for more than an hour. ABC's Karen Travers has the latest.
Just before Monday's evening rush hour, chaos at a busy underground subway station in downtown Washington.
Gas and smoke just starts piling in, and people are freaking out, going everywhere.
As emergency officials work to identify the source of the smoke, there was a train stopped in a tunnel just south of the L'Enfant Plaza metro station.
About 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet beyond that train, there was an electrical arcing event involving the third rail. The train did not derail. There was no fire on the train.
DC Fire Department responded to evacuate folks from this train. We have one fatality.
At least one other's in critical condition. Dozens more taken to local hospitals for treatment for smoke inhalation or other injuries. Eyewitness reports from the scene started to quickly appear on social media. These pictures showing a dark, smoky train, emergency personnel. Passengers said they took their evacuations into their own hands.
Once we got in the station, we just sprinted for our lives out of there because we had no idea what was happening. We were all so scared.
The National Transportation Safety Board is now leading that investigation. In a strange coincidence, that government agency is located right above the L'Enfant Plaza station where the incident took place. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Federal buildings and airports across the country are now on heightened alert today after last week's terror attacks in Paris. Security will be stepped up, with the TSA saying it will enhance its random searches of passengers and carry-on luggage at airports. U.S. officials say, however, they have not identified any specific imminent threat. Last week's attacks in Paris killed 17 people.
French authorities say they are on hot trail of hunting down other members of that terror cell that triggered those attacks. It comes amid a new hack attack on the U.S. military's Twitter and YouTube sites. ABC's Brian Ross has the latest.
As French authorities search for other members of the terror cell, new video emerged of two that got away. On the right, Hayat Boumediene, the girlfriend of the gunman at the Paris grocery store. And on the left, another alleged accomplice, seen at this Turkish immigration checkpoint last week. French authorities say they left Paris just before the attack and moved first to Madrid, then Istanbul, before crossing the border into Syria, where they were reported by ISIS followers to have arrived in the terrorist stronghold city of Raqqa.
She is outside of the reach of French law enforcement, and it's going to be difficult even to conduct surveillance of her activities while she's in Syria.
As for her boyfriend, officials are analyzing this so-called martyrdom tape recorded by Amadei Coulibaly, swearing allegiance to ISIS, and the surprising array seen of the firepower he somehow accumulated. The two other Paris attackers, the Kouachi brothers, also had their own deadly arsenal, as seen in these surveillance photos made public showing them holding up a gas station with a disposable rocket launcher over the shoulder of one of them, powerful enough to stop an armored vehicle, an incredibly serious military weapon. But it was another ISIS weapon that got the attention of the U.S. military. The terror group's followers using keystrokes instead of Kalashnikovs to take over the Twitter feed and YouTube channels of the U.S. military Central Command, headquarters for American efforts against the terrorists. The hackers posted ISIS videos and issued this threat: American soldiers, we are coming. Watch your back. The U.S. military says no classified information was involved, but the apparent ability of ISIS followers to post a threat on the U.S. military site has now led to a full FBI investigation. Brian Ross, ABC News, New York.
Both black boxes from the Air Asia crash have now been pulled from the bottom of the Java Sea. The cockpit voice recorder had been wedged under part of the plane, but it was retrieved this morning. The flight data recorder was brought to shore a day earlier. They'll now be sent to the Indonesian capital of Jakarta, where investigators are expected to get a second-by-second timeline of the flight.
South Carolina, where a retired firefighter has died after his truck was swept away by floodwaters. Investigators say it appears the truck became stuck in a flooded sewer pipe. Moments later, it was swept into an overflowing creek and taken downstream. The victim was apparently able to make a 911 call before being overtaken by rushing water. There was a close call for this driver in Colorado when a sinkhole nearly swallowed his SUV. It's 30 feet long and 15 feet deep and filled with water. The sinkhole opened as the SUV drove over what used to be the main shaft of a coal mine. It was filled in more than 85 years ago, but opened up after a rainstorm. The driver is okay. And a very different rescue in Ohio, where a dog was caught in the icy waters of the Great Miami River. Firefighters had to use a special boat. The 7-year-old black lab appeared ready to give up after struggling for at least a half an hour. The vet says the dog's temperature was so low it wouldn't register, but the dog is doing well now.
All right, well, here's a look at your weather. Showers in the Carolinas and the southern tip of Florida, some snow in the Rockies, and dry just about everywhere else.
Temperatures in the Northeast and Midwest will be 10 to 15 degrees below normal. Highs will only be in the teens around the Great Lakes, the 40s and 50s along the Gulf Coast, and in the 20s in the Northeast, 60s, Phoenix and Los Angeles.
Well, for the first time, we got what we wanted, a playoff in college football, and a champ has been decided on the field. Not by some polls, not by the BCS. I hate to even say that again. The winner, Ohio State. Last night, the Buckeyes upset the Oregon Ducks 42-20. They were led by a third-string quarterback. What's the name? That's your cue, right?
16 gauge, now 100 gauge.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Cardell Jones is his name. His nickname is 12 gauge. He had a great,
gauge.
yes, 12.
Sorry, I forgot.
What is a 16 gauge?
I don't know.
Why do you keep saying 16?
I was joking. It was 16 gauge, but I really said 16 gauge. But I think he's 100 gauge because he gave 100%.
Oh, okay. Yes, he did. He had a great game, but the MVP of the game was the tailback, Ezekiel Elliott. Don't mess with his name. He had 246 yards, 4 touchdowns. Take a listen.
We finally did it. This is why we all came here to compete and win national championships, and we did it. It's our dream. It came true.
Now, Ohio State coach Urban Meyer now has 3 national championships to his credit. The other 2 were at Florida. Meyer is only the second coach to win titles with 2 different schools.
ESPN's not going to be calling me today, huh?
Yeah, probably to complain.
All right. Well, a New York man is back home this morning after the flight of his life. Check out this selfie taken by Chris O'Leary. He appeared to be the only passenger. It turns out everyone else booked on the Cleveland to New York plane had taken an earlier flight, but O'Leary was in his hotel room and didn't hear the announcements at the airport, but he has no complaints.
I mean, the best part was there were no crying babies on board. There's no one in front of me to lean their seat back into me or anything. So, and I felt no guilt leaning my seat back either.
Hope they gave you an extra pack of peanuts, too. O'Leary was not the only passenger. The plane went back to the gate and picked up another person, but O'Leary says that passenger slept the entire way to LaGuardia.
At least they let him sit in first class. Wouldn't that have been awful if they made him?
That's so wrong.
No, 22F. That's yours, sir. Stay right there. All right, we got something else turning a lot of heads this morning. In a community north of Minneapolis, a front yard snow sculpture.
Yeah, this isn't really an ordinary snow sculpture. It's far from any snowman most of us ever made when we were kids. It's a 37-foot long sea turtle. Just look at that amazing detail. It took 3 brothers, Austin, Trevor, and Connor Bartz, 300 hours to complete it.
Yeah, 12-foot tall turtle. They named it Snappy. It's the 4th year in a row the brothers have built a giant sea animal of some kind, some snow sculpture outside. You can do that in Minneapolis. Good work, guys. Well, we got the skinny coming your way next. A very awkward moment on The Bachelor. Also, a sneak peek at the next movie chapter of The Avengers.
But first, the chilling moments on a ski resort. A 9-year-old boy in trouble on the chairlift, the safety questions, and who came to the rescue. You're watching World News Now.
World News Now weather.
Brought to you by Airborne Dual Action.
Did you know that while you're going about your day, your immune system is fighting for you inside your body?